self-esteem. Thank you. Well, good morning. My name is Andy, and I am proud to be the first Governor Scholar to serve as Governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And welcome to the club. This was a life-changing experience for me, and I hope you are in the midst of that same life-changing experience. I came to Governor Scholars as one person, and I left as another. This program provided me confidence, confidence that I did not have before it, that I was valuable, that I was liked by my peers. You know, being smart, at least in the 90s, wasn't necessarily all that cool in high school. When I tested the theory of whether you were on the baseball team and the debate team, if everyone liked you, the answer was no. But coming here changed so much for me in my journey. I met friends at the Governor Scholars Program that I still see today, this many years later. In fact, when I moved back to Kentucky, after practicing law in Washington for a little bit, the office that I was placed in at my law firm, someone who was in my Governor Scholars Program was right next door. In my first year as Attorney General, I hired in one of our key positions one of my RAs from the Governor Scholars Program. So when they say that these friends will follow you for life, it's real. And I can tell you as a 45-year-old guy that it is really true. You know, when I look at my journey, this was one of my pivotal moments. That I wouldn't be standing where I am today without it. That I wouldn't be the person that I am today without it. And so I hope in these remaining weeks that you have, that you get absolutely everything you can out of it. And then I hope especially in this next year, you see as many of the people that you've made friends with around this Commonwealth as possible, because you're going to see some of them through college, and certainly in a professional career that we hope keeps you in Kentucky. Now, I went from this program ultimately out of state to college and law school. Started practicing at an international law firm in Washington, D.C. Met my wife at a Mexican restaurant. That's where every great romance starts. Realized that if I wanted to see her before 9 or 9:30 p.m., that we might want to move to a different place, and convinced a woman from the small town of Los Angeles to move to Kentucky. From there, became a partner in a regional law firm, and then ultimately ran for Attorney General in 2015. And talk about an amazing legal job, where you get to wake up and crusade every day. In that job, we arrested more child predators than any AG had ever done before. I sued more opioid companies than any other Attorney General in the nation. He's ravaged our Kentucky community. So many deaths, people that I know, people that you know. So much of today's addiction caused by these companies flooding small communities with thousands of pills for every man, woman, and child. And I'm proud of the work we did there. In 2019, ran for governor. Was fortunate enough to win. Went into the job having, actually my dad, served 2 terms as governor. We are the only father-son to serve in the history of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, thinking that I knew what this job was about. And 3 months in, we got hit by the pandemic. Now, in many ways, people look back on these last 3.5 or 4 years, and you've lived them, right? More adversity in a small period of time than I can ever imagine, actually, even when we look back in history. We had a pandemic that's taken 18,000 lives, turned your world upside down, and I know that you lost different opportunities that you can't get back. But I want you to know, because of your sacrifice, there are thousands of people that are still alive today. Because of your willingness to give things up, give up experiences. There are so many people's family members that are at that next holiday dinner, and I'm really proud of what your generation was willing to do, knowing it was as simple as living that golden rule that we love our neighbor as ourselves. And the parable of the Good Samaritan saying everybody's our neighbor, no ifs, ands, or buts, whether we have met them or not, but we have a duty to the rest of humanity as man. You will certainly lived up to that calling. But on top of that, we had our worst tornado disaster in our Anybody from Mayfield? Dawson Springs? Anybody from Muhlenberg County? Around Bremen? Now, E4 tornado, so I gotta say, if that was an E4, I don't know what an E5 is. Staying on the ground over 200 miles in Kentucky alone, devastation, the likes of which we have never seen. You know, my dad's hometown, 70% of every structure wiped out in the span of just a couple of hours. On top of that, we have the worst flooding we've ever seen. We have anybody from Perry County? Yeah. Or Floyd? Or Letcher? Or not? I mean, these are thousands of families that lost everything. I mean, everything. That likely took decades to build, virtually no one insured, because you can't afford flood insurance in those regions. We also had 2 ice storms, 2 windstorms, one of which was the 3rd most expensive, destructive natural disaster that we've seen. We had that polar plunge. Did y'all know it could get negative 45-degree wind chill in Kentucky? And I still remember, it broke on Christmas Day, but we thought we would have to do different power outages to maintain enough for the grid on Christmas Eve. I'd be the governor telling people that you might have an hour or two without power, and I can't tell you how many thousands of calls came in and said, well, you better tell me which hour, because I'm cooking for tomorrow. But even with all that adversity, inflation on top of it, I mean, even the economic repercussions of a war in Europe, something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. No, I did find out about a couple of months ago that apparently I've been banned by Russia. It's okay to laugh. They're digging really deep if they get to me. But I'm telling you, even with all of that, historic levels of adversity, I have never been more optimistic and more excited about where our state is going, and you all are going to get to be a critical part of that. Anyway, while it's hard to process, to me it's like that 30th Psalm that says, weeping may linger in the evening, but joy comes in the morning. Or just put it a different way. When you band together, when we stick together, when we help each other get through the hard times, what's on the other side is typically pretty amazing. You know, even in the midst of that pandemic, you go back to 2021, we started to see the signs of a new, revitalized Kentucky, the likes of which I've never seen. You know, 2021 was the height of the pandemic. We went into it with the Delta variant raging, our hospitals overflowing. But it was also the year that we didn't break. We shattered every economic development record in the books, and we set Kentucky on a new trajectory, not just to leapfrog 10 other states' economies, but I believe ultimately to be a top 10 state economy. To give you some concept, we went into 2021 averaging about $5 billion of new private sector investment a year, creating about 9,000 new jobs each year. 2021, we brought in $11.2 billion in new investment, created a record 18,000 new Kentucky jobs at the 2nd highest wage we'd ever seen. We rolled into 2022 and had our 2nd best year ever, $10.5 billion in new investment, 16,500 new jobs, and while it is just July, I believe that this year, 2023, will be our 3rd best year for new job creation and investments in our history. Think about what that means. I mean, to have the 3 best, the 3 biggest all in a row means good years of economic development can turn into decades of prosperity. It means totally different opportunities for you in this Commonwealth than maybe I saw graduating from college in 2000. What it means is this is our best chance to turn our brain drain into a brain gain, never to lose our talented young people to other states ever again. But how about other states' talented young people start moving to Kentucky? Because this is where it's at. Over the course of the last 3 years, well, I would have told you about 6 months ago that we've become the electric vehicle battery production capital of the United States of America. Who's from Hardin County? All right, as you all know, we're building the 2 largest battery plants on planet Earth right next to each other, and they are on schedule. Who's from Bowling Green? Well, we're building the 4th largest battery plant on planet Earth in Bowling Green. And while those alone, plus the one we're building in Shelby County, which isn't auto, it is storage, give us more gigawatt production hours than any other state, and significantly more. We've had much more investment than that. If you're from Bullitt County, Rivian announced that they are significantly expanding, and they will be doing a lot of their repair work for their EVs there. Or if you are from Georgetown or Scott County, what an incredible announcement when Toyota announced that they are going to begin making their SUV, an EV SUV in that facility. That was that company's very first U.S. plant. It was in the 80s. It was a governor named Mark Lane Collins, this lieutenant governor named Steve Beshear. He turned out to be the second best governor, Beshear. But because of that, those jobs, 10,000 plus jobs, are going to continue into the future. And because of that, I believe we're not just the EV battery capital of the United States of America. I believe we're the EV capital of the United States of America. Look at what we're doing in Hopkinsville, where Ascent Elements is going to take the lithium from our phone batteries and our tablet batteries and recycle it into our automotive so we don't have to rely on China for a single amount of lithium. This is a process no one on earth has ever done before, and we're doing it in Kentucky. The jobs we're getting aren't just making things. The R&D component that's coming with each one is incredible. Think about Henry Ford's great-grandson, Bill Ford Jr., is the chair of Ford. And he said this is the biggest jump in the automotive industry since the Model T, which, by the way, we made right here in Kentucky, in Louisville, and the coal that powered that was mined in eastern Kentucky. And we have been a part of this auto industry since the very beginning, and we are now leading the way going forward. But you look all over the Commonwealth and the exciting things that are happening. For the first time that I can remember, jobs are coming everywhere. Right? Jobs are coming to people instead of people coming to jobs. I got to announce a steel facility in Bell County and a distillery in Fulton County on the same day. I can't remember when that's happened. I remember being in Breckenridge County for the largest jobs announcement they've had with Atlas, which is creating one of their international headquarters right there, thanks to work with their career and technical program in their high school. I mean, things are happening in Kentucky, and we're getting nationally recognized. Now, we were ranked number 2 in per capita economic development last year. Number 2. We were ranked number 3 in the creation of rural jobs. They just did a Prosperity Cup ranking about bringing prosperity to your people. They ranked us all the time 5th in the country in where we're going, and for the first time, first in our region, leapfrogging these 2 states called Tennessee and Texas. And I was pretty proud. It was the first time we ranked above those. Last year, we set our lowest annual unemployment rate in our history. 3 months ago, our lowest monthly unemployment rate in our history. We have the biggest budget surpluses we've ever seen, which, by the way, means we ought to be able to pay our public school educators much more because they deserve it. Now, when we look at these great rankings that we have, and they are great, we are 41st to 44th in teacher pay. And you all know that that's where our job training, truly our future, starts. And if we want to make sure that we meet this historic moment, because we are at it. You know, this is our chance as Kentuckians, and I hope you're as proud as I am to make this state everything we've ever dreamed of, to stop people looking down their nose at us ever again, to never be a flyover state ever again, and to no one to ever make fun of our accents ever again. This is our chance. And to do that, we got to make sure that we are competitive, because this isn't a political thing. Tennessee's raising teacher pay. Indiana is raising teacher pay. It is a competition for talent, and we've got to make sure that we win it. We have our largest rainy day fund ever. We've had 2 bond rating upgrades. We haven't seen that in 13 years, which means our pensions, the promised retirements of every teacher, police officer, firefighter, every state, city, and county worker are safer than they have ever been. All this going on right now in this special moment for us. But to have this special moment, we need you. Because right now, what we see going on in the United States is a massive demographic shift. For the large part of 50 years, baby boomers were in positions of authority and are now retiring at a record pace that they've earned. These are my parents. If Dad wants to play golf, he deserves it. If the retirement period has come, what it means is the opportunity for you all to lead is going to come faster. It's going to come quicker than ever before. That you are going to have opportunities regardless of what field you are in to excel and climb the ranks faster than we've seen again in decades. So no pressure. But the future of the Commonwealth of Kentucky is on your shoulders. But you know, with this group, that's how we know we're going to succeed. You wouldn't be here if you're not the very best of the best. I know how hard it is to get into the Governor's Scholars Program. And that ought to give you confidence going forward. And as you move from here to college, I know you all are sweating that decision. It's going to be okay. Listen, I do too. You wouldn't be where you are without putting a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on you, but I promise, no matter where you go, you will do great. How you do where you go is more important than where you go. And as you try to find, your passion in life, hopefully an occupation plus a purpose that come together, that's what gives you mission. That's what gets you out of bed every day, willing to run into brick walls. I know it feels like to run into brick walls every single day, but knowing that if you do, if you claw for the inches that become the feet, that become the yards, that become the miles of progress, we can make some special things happen. I mean, as I look over these last 3 years with good things happening economically, we started to see some good things happening in other places. And we have fewer kids in our foster care system than we did a couple of years ago. We are one of only 8 states in the country that had a significant decrease in overdose deaths last year as it just got worse nationwide. And by the way, that's tens of thousands of Kentuckians working really hard every single day. And we have the lowest recidivism rate in our history, meaning we are getting people back with their families, back into society, into jobs, stabilizing their life. That's not only the right thing to do if you believe in second chances, but it is also something that makes all of our communities safer. So I hope as you go from here on to really exciting futures, that first, you hopefully stay or come back to Kentucky. You've got to do what's best for you, and that's all any of us would ever dream of, but we hope that there's an opportunity for it right here because we want people as talented as you leading us into the future. But I also hope that you will find a way to continue what I think the legacy of this generation and everyone that went through this pandemic will be. And that's to make sure you don't leave other people behind. The lesson of COVID is that we are all connected, all of us. And if we can pursue, again, your careers, which you'll be excited about, but just find a way to give back. Find a way to make sure that other people are included. Find a passion or a purpose that can either be in your job or outside of it. That maybe helps somebody else that had it a little harder than you did, or maybe needs just a little bit of extra help. Because if you do that, the dividends that we are going to see are going to be historic. I mean, we're sitting at a time where we have a good job for everyone, that we can get trained and educated and healthy enough to fill it. Think about what we can do to address generational poverty, to restore hope where it's been lost, a chance to make sure that no part of Kentucky is left out, especially those parts that are too often left out. Make sure that no neighborhood of our cities are left out, especially the neighborhoods that are too often left out, to make sure no group of people are left out, especially those that are too often left out. This is our chance to meet a historic moment and to get it right. And if we can do that, I'm convinced that every CEO in America or across the globe are going to continue to want to be a part of what makes Kentucky so special. So I'm really excited to see what y'all's future holds. I know there's going to be challenges in the years to come, but trust me, each of you are equipped to take them on no matter how big. You wouldn't be here without it. And I need you to be really, really successful because I'm a youngish governor and I'm going to need a job someday. So please look me up. Again, it is wonderful to spend a little bit of time with you here today. And now I'm going to give you a chance to do something that happens every Thursday, and that's interrogate the governor. All right, who'd like to start? Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
I'm Jada Reynolds. I'm from Prestonsburg.
Yeah.
And this November will be my first time voting. So I was wondering what advice would you have for first-time voters like myself?
I'm a little self-interested in this question. So questions for first-time voters. First, congratulations. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a bedrock of our democracy, and it's a shame that more people don't vote. It's a shame that more people your age don't vote. But this is an opportunity, and I think we are seeing it nationwide, to change that. So the first thing is make sure you're informed. Read beyond just the how many characters can you put on Twitter? Yeah, read more than that. And I think you look at a couple of things. right? There are different issues that are important, but leadership is also important, right? Who's going to make the tough decisions when they are really unpopular but necessary? Will people cave in worried about their own re-election or election instead of to do what's right in the most difficult periods of time? You know, for Floyd County, who's going to be there after the flood? Not just showing up a week after and wearing the t-shirt, but doing the hard work that it takes week in and week out. One of the reasons I want to continue doing this job is I made a promise to you and every member of your county that we were going to rebuild everything no matter how long it takes. And I want to see that through. The rebuild in Eastern Kentucky is the most complex in the history of the United States. We've got to move people from a flood zone out of it, which means we've got to build whole new neighborhoods and communities, but we got to make sure this never happens to anybody else ever again. And I'd also look at how people run their campaigns too. That says something about what they are willing to do. And I always believe that people's actions speak a lot louder than their words. You know, a lot of people will say, I've done this or I've done that. I make sure you evaluate it. And in the end, this is the hard thing. Realize that there are typically only two options, right? And sometimes people will say, well, I don't like either and I'm just not going to vote. That's not life, right? Life is making the complex decision. It's not based on any one issue that gives you an easy out, but in truly trying to find who you think would do the better job based on everything that's important to you. I can make it easier on one of the elections. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Grace Blackner, and I'm from Johnson County.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what your focus area was.
Anybody want to guess what my focus area it was? This is not too hard. Social, political, and economic theory is what it was called at that time. And we had this project called Faces of the Enemy, which you can see right now both in domestic and foreign politics. It is how you dehumanize your enemy. Oftentimes using animals or others to make them seem less human. It's what sadly the Nazis did with Jews and other examples throughout history. And you see it throughout our history too. And sadly, it's a lot of what you see in politics today where they try to make you believe that some people aren't people. And that it's okay to not just create division, but even foster hate against one person or the other. I believe that we are all children of God, and we might not understand each other, but that's what empathy is all about, right? It's the difference between sympathy and empathy. And so it's really interesting that you know, my focus area from the time helps me see right now what's going on in America. And I don't believe it's ever right for your personal self-interest to try to rile certain Americans up against others, fostering division at a time when you look at what's going on in the world where we should all be together. And I believe the things that we worry about at night are very similar and aren't the things that people are chasing in Washington, D.C. They're like, do I have a good job, right, that I can raise my family on? Can I afford to take my parents or kids to a doctor when they're sick? Do I feel safe in my home and in my community? Are my roads safe to drive my family around? And those are things that aren't political at all. Who's from Northern Kentucky? Wow, okay. When we announced the Brent Bridge without tolls, the companion bridge that we're building, you saw the president, you saw Mitch McConnell, you saw Rob Portman, you saw Mike DeWine and I, who are friends, despite being in different political parties, all there smiling together. You know why? Because we were proving a bridge in Democrat or Republican. It's not red or blue. It's a bridge, and it's desperately needed. By the way, they told me that was not possible to do, and here we are doing it. That's pretty neat. All right, who's next? Yes, sir, up here. Oh, you just turned around. I think you've got it. Democracy.
I'm Gabriel. I'm from Covington, Northern Kentucky.
Right where we're building that bridge.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy about that. That's awesome. A question that we as young leaders get asked a lot is what inspires us? But being governor at a time where we've had some of our worst tornadoes and worst floods and a global pandemic, I was just wondering what inspires you to keep going in times of hardship?
Wow, that is a really great question. What was your answer as a young leader?
I like hope is I like hoping for the future. I always try to stay positive and just know that's going to be okay in the end, and that just have confidence in myself I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. That's pretty special. By the way, I don't think you're young leaders, I think you're just leaders, right? You've been asked to step up and to do things, pandemics, tornadoes, floods. By the way, any of the areas that were hit by floods, where was the #1 place people would go for supplies and help? Our schools. And who was there? As many of our students, as faculty and others. You all have just earned being leaders by now. So for me, my life changed with the birth of my kids. I have a son named Will who's 14 and a daughter named Lila who is 13. And I mean, they're the two miracles in my life. And you know, as they were born, and I've been working to try to provide security for my family, which is good. That's something we all have to do. I mean, I looked around at the world and I thought they deserve a lot better than this. You deserve a lot better than this. Every next generation that comes along deserves better. And one of the reasons I'm so excited right now about what's going on in Kentucky is this can be our collective legacy, not mine, but ours. I mean, if we can grab this potential that's in front of us, we will leave a better Kentucky with more opportunity for every generation that comes after us. What an incredible gift that you and everybody else could leave for a commonwealth. And you know, I believe that in times of difficulty, it's really important for people to stand for what's right and to do the right thing, even when it's the hardest. And hopefully, that means that other people see it as well. And one of the reasons that I got into politics is I don't like bullies. I don't like bullies. And we just see a lot of them in politics right now. And I wanted to be that person that stands between them, or sometimes that giant corporation that's hurting us, or anybody else, those opioid companies, and our families behind us. Yes?
I'm Amanda Lambert. I go to Mark Lane Collins High School in Shelby County,
Yeah.
right outside of Louisville. You mentioned being the Attorney General and prosecuting opioid companies, yet many of these companies target Eastern Kentucky regions, in which those coal companies are failing to regulate airborne carcinogens and dangerous working environments. So what is Kentucky's plan to diversify this region's job market and save Kentuckians in the coal industry from experiencing opioid addiction, black lung, and overall lower quality of life?
Yeah, we're working very hard in Eastern Kentucky right now. Listen, let me first say that we wouldn't be the country that we are without the coal industry. They powered us through the Industrial Revolution. They powered us through 2 world wars. And when we talk about the industry, we've got to understand that they provided, I mean, almost 6-figure jobs to Eastern Kentuckians that helped multiple generations and multiple families for so long. And I get that the United States is shifting energy policy, and I believe in all-in energy policy. We want hydrogen, we want EVs, we want everything that is out there. But when that happened, Eastern Kentucky was left behind. This is an area, again, that helped us get to where we are, not just in Kentucky, but the rest of the country. And we talk about environmental justice, which we should, but the other part of justice is when we are about to lose thousands upon thousands upon thousands of jobs because of a policy shift. You got to make sure that those jobs come to the place that they are being lost. You got to understand that there's damage. It's more than collateral damage when you make those types of decisions. And so it's time for the United States to be there for Eastern Kentucky, just like Eastern Kentucky was there in Western Kentucky, for that matter, for the United States. It's one of the reasons that I normally say no to just about everything out of Washington, D.C. that I'm asked to do. I'm the governor of Kentucky, right? Kentuckians are my people, and that's why I wanted to do this. But I did accept being the co-chair of the Appalachian Regional Commission this year. It pumps millions of dollars into economic development, into job training, into other opportunities. It's why we pump millions of dollars into 4-laning the Mountain Parkway, which we're going to get done within the next 3.5 years, to where you're now going to be able to be on a 4-lane all the way from Pikeville to you pick it, any of our Mississippi River counties. Opening that infrastructure, we've already had our first business located because of that plant. It's in McGoffin County. It's called Emerald Energy. It's also why we're so excited about having more money for the expansion of broadband internet than ever before. So we've already made the largest public sector investment ever. It's about $200 billion between the private and the public. It's about 88,000 homes that are getting helped. We just got from the federal government an announcement of $1.1 billion